Hi, I'm Kathy Delaney, and I'd like to welcome you to my world of applique. Applique is my favorite thing to do. It's relaxing, it's portable, it's forgiving. Nobody knows if I've changed a pattern or not. Often in class, students will ask me if I can just go home with them because they know that by the time they get home they will have forgotten half of what I've said. Well, through this DVD, I can go home with you. You can start it, you can stop it, you can rewind it, you can keep doing it over and over until you get just what it is you're looking for. And you will have as much fun with applique as I do. Now understand that there's no one way to do applique. There's lots of different methods out there. And I'm just going to show you today what I do. Probably the first thing you'll want to look for is the pattern for your applique. Now patterns seem to come in two different styles. One is a full-scale drawing of the picture that you're going to applique, and the other will be individual templates scattered throughout the book. I find that the folk designs, or the very simple one layer of applique, are more suited for the individual templates. Often you'll see in a book a picture of the project, and a few pages away you might have the individual template shown. Now I find a problem with that, for me, and here's why. When we trace our patterns, we can't help it, we edit. Little straight lines become maybe a little more curved, curved lines straighten out, little pointed areas might become a little curved, curved areas might become pointed. We're human, we can't help but edit. Then when we go to cut those templates out with a pair of scissors, we edit again. We still can't help it. So I prefer to have a full-scale picture, like in this flower. When I cut this line, notice that it's shared between these two pieces. When I cut this, no matter how I've edited or whether I've edited or not, it's going to fit together like a jigsaw puzzle. Okay, now you have your pattern. Let's choose some fabric. I look for fabric with an inner light, something that seems to glow from within. I love hand dyes. Here's one that has that inner light, but it's got dark as well as light. It reads as a solid, but because of the variation in value, it has a little more interest. This one even has more than one color in it. It's got some purple and goes to orange. I loved more than one color because it's almost like having several pieces of fabric for the price of one. I like a visual texture, something that doesn't look like it's smooth, but it has a little roughness to it, even though it's just in the picture. I like a variety of textures for my fabric. I don't want solids. I have that bias against solids. I don't mind if it looks like something real, like this grass or these pine needles. Doesn't mean that I'm going to use them in a leaf. Here's one with a print to it. I'll even use prints and just use little bits of them. I like swirls and pattern. Sometimes I like it to be a little static. Here's again one that looks like it's very rough, but it's obviously not. Here's a little whimsical piece. Actually, I like dots. Only if they're in random order. I don't want a polka dot that's very evenly spaced, but if it's random, it's a piece with lots of different sizes in the dots. Here's a piece that I've used often. It shades from one color to another, almost looks like watercolor. Remember, we're painting with fabric. I like a pattern. I love to use plaids now and then. Brights can add lots of fun. Even stripes. This is a great piece. Now here's one that I will not use for applique. I would find these little dots to be entirely too static and the space in between them too wide. So when I cut them into small pieces, I'm going to lose the pattern anyway. So I would definitely not use this one. We have our pattern. It's a full scale design, and we're going to trace it onto our template material. Notice here in the pattern that there are numbers on the individual pieces. Those numbers are important. That is your stitching sequence. So when you're tracing your pattern, be sure you add those numbers. First, we're going to transfer our pattern to our template material. Now there are a variety of things you can use to make your templates. Some people like template plastic or cardstock, but I prefer freezer paper. It's inexpensive, it will stay adhered to my fabric until I don't need it to be, and it's reusable. There is a shiny side to the freezer paper and a dull side. You're going to draw on the dull side, and we're going to iron the fabric or the template to our fabric. Trace it onto the freezer paper in that full design, just like I've been telling you, and then we're going to cut the pieces out individually. For just pure practice, the best way to learn applique is to practice on hearts. You'll have inner points, outer points, you have straight lines, gentle curves, and I've even added an inside curve. That'll give you everything you need to know for your applique stitching. Now when you place your template onto your fabric, remember it's the right side of your fabric, we're going to place it on the fabric so that the majority of the edges are on the bias. That is, on the diagonal of the grain. Turning our edges under on the bias is much easier than if we had everything lined up so that it was on the straight of the grain. That would be much more difficult to work with. We're going to adhere our template to the right side of the fabric. We use a dry iron set on the wool setting, but no steam. Just a couple of seconds and you're set. And the reason that we do that is because a steam iron is going to distort the paper. If your iron is too hot, if it's set on the cotton setting, the plastic coating on the back of the paper will sink down into the fibers and it'll be much more difficult to take off. So I recommend the wool setting. Now if your iron runs a little cool, then you're going to have to up it up to the cotton setting. And you'll know that it's not working if you pick up your fabric and you move it and the template comes right off. Then you're going to need to hit it again with a hotter iron.